live streamed from remote locations. We want to request that everyone joining us today, except committee members, keep your mic or phone muted until you are called on to speak. As instructed in the agenda, those who called or emailed us in advance to let us know your name, contact number, and agenda item you wish to speak about will be recognized first. Before the Riverfront Design Committee votes on each item, I will ask if any members of the public wish to speak. Anyone speaking will be given 3 minutes to speak. Since you are muted, when I call on you, please unmute yourself. On a phone, you will press *6 and then state your name and address for the record before you speak. On a desktop or laptop computer, you will hover your cursor over the microphone icon to remove the diagonal red line. If we lose our connection for this meeting, the meeting shall be stopped and reconvened once the connection is restored. If communications are unable to be restored within 30 minutes, items remaining for consideration will be continued to the next regularly scheduled Riverfront Design Committee meeting on Thursday, October 1st, 2020 at 9 a.m. by video conference. The agenda and documents are located at https://agenda.okc.gov/sirepub/meet.aspx. You would then select Agenda on the right side of the Riverfront Design Committee meeting to see all of the agenda items. Jennifer, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Committee Member Howard? Committee Member Postick?
Present.
Committee Member Dean? Committee Member Dougherty?
Present.
Committee Member Housel?
Present.
Committee Member Joyce?
Present.
Committee Member Larson?
Present.
Committee Person Templeton?
Present.
Committee Member Torres? Mr. Vice Chair, you have quorum.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Item number 2 is approval of the minutes. Laura, do you have a comment on that?
Yes. Due to a technical issue, we need to not take action on the August minutes, and we will be putting them on the October Riverfront agenda for action.
In that case, I would welcome a motion to continue this meeting.
Actually, there isn't really anything to continue since they weren't attached. So
Okay.
I was just going to read that statement and say they will be on your next agenda. And I noticed right now I'm admitting Committee Member Gloria Torres is now connecting to the meeting. So we'll need to make sure when she gets connected, but I will defer to legal if they think we need to continue them. I think the statement is fine and they will just be on your next agenda.
Either way is fine. Without taking any action, they would get continued anyway. So whichever makes the committee more comfortable.
Okay. So then I propose we simply let it go until the next meeting when we'll act on it at that time. Any comments? Hearing none, we move on to item number 3, cases withdrawn. There are none. Item number 4, continuance requests.
And Chair, if you could pause for a moment, one of the committee members needs to make a statement and recuse himself.
That's me, John. This is John Joyce. I'm just going to recuse myself from this one item, then I'll be back.
Thank you, John. So this is item 4A, SRCA-19-00014R1 at 1100 South Robinson Avenue. Laura?
We've had a request from the applicant's attorney to continue this item to the October 1st, 2020 RDC meeting.
Okay. In that case, I would welcome a motion from the committee.
Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
This is Dana Templeton. I'd like to make a motion to continue this agenda item to October 1st, 2020, Design Review Board, Riverfront Design Committee meeting.
I'll second. This is Jonathan Heisel.
All right, thank you both.
Good afternoon, all. This is Jennifer. The motion is deferred because I don't have a continued button, just for clarity. I apologize.
Okay, so what action do we need to take on PrimeGov?
The motion was made, so that member, there you go. And then the second, and then the open vote. Committee members, now is the time you will place your vote in PrimeGov.
This is Brian. I don't see that. Maybe I'm logged in wrong this time. I can do a voice vote.
That would be fine, sir. What do you like to vote on this item?
Vote approve.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chair, this motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. We now move on to agenda item number 5, and I'd like to welcome committee member Joyce back in. John, are you with us
Yes,
again?
I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5 is the consent docket. There are none. Agenda item number 6, cases for individual consideration. Item 6A, SRCA-20-00019 at 2021 South Robinson Avenue. Laura?
Thank you. This is Laura Griggs, Planning Department. This project is for Wiley Post Park, which hopefully most of you have at least driven by, if not benefited from going to the park. It's located on both the north and south side of the river. And there are kind of two components to this. One is they're going to be removing a lot of the paved surfaces. There's a bunch of roadways in it. And this is a drone shot that the Parks Department provided. They are also going to be relocating the access off of Robinson, and they're going to line it up with Southwest 17th Street. And they're going to be adding an entrance onto Walker. So this view shows Southwest 17th Street. You saw Manuel Perez Park a few months ago when they came through for that plan. And so you see with the arrow where they're going to be actually moving the access into the park. So it lines up with 17th Street. There will be some amenities, some benches, bike racks, bike fixing station. There will also be some trees removed. I know they were as selective as they could be on the trees to be removed. And shortly here, you'll see the plan for the tree removal that was provided by the applicant. So on the north side, what you're seeing here is there's kind of a loop road that runs underneath Robinson, and they're actually going to be taking that out so that there will be more green space, so more park area, and less asphalt, which I think is a real benefit to that area. They're going to be putting in some parking areas that will be paver stones. You will notice that there were several conditions only because they have to get approval. And I apologize, I'm getting feedback from something. They're going to have to get approvals from other departments. And so that's why, the only reason why I had to put any conditions, because there were no issues from a staff perspective. And so I'm waiting for Cameron so here's the overall plan where you can see 17th Street being aligned and the new entrance off of Walker. And they have an interesting grade that they have to meet. And then on the north side, where you see all that light green, and that's the pavement that's going away. And then Cameron, if you could go ahead and go down to the tree removal one, which is the next one, that one. And so this one shows the trees that are being removed for the various work that they're doing. I think they did a really good job on the placement of the entrances, both on Walker and Robinson, to not lose more trees than they're proposing. And to keep some of the big ones that are out there. So staff is recommending approval, and we have 3 conditions that we suggest. One is that the applicant obtain approval from the Public Works Department for the new curb cuts, entrances on Robinson and Walker. The second one, that applicant obtain approval from the Public Works Department for the use of permeable concrete pavers for the parking lots. And that the applicant obtain approval from Embark for the relocation of the bus stop. There's currently a bus stop on Robinson, pretty much at where they want to move the entrance on 17th Street. And so they will have to relocate that, but they need to coordinate that with Embark. And we have the Parks Department online, and as well as representatives from the consultant online. There we have Brandon, who turned his camera on. But if the committee has any questions for me, I will try to answer them. Otherwise, I suggest we can ask the Parks Department representative, Brandon, to make comment or answer your questions or whatever.
Thank you, Laura. Brandon, do you have any comments?
I think Laura covered most of the highlights that we're kind of looking at. We've looked at this park to develop where the plan is now. We've kind of looked at this park overall and kind of tried to make sure that the proposed improvements that we're looking at here are not going to cause an effect or have a negative effect on future improvements of the park. So we're trying to be really strategic in how we lay this out so that as the park continues to develop with future funding, that it can continue to make sense. A lot of the parking and the paving that we're taking out is kind of left over from, previous amenities and improvements that are no longer in place. And, those amenities were removed or, dilapidated and just had passed their prime as far as use. However, a lot of the pavement had not been removed. And so this is kind of a stepping stone project to get a lot of the infrastructure cleaned up and in place to make the vehicular circulation a much needed improvement, as well as improving the pedestrian circulation and minimizing how many potential for conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians. If you're familiar with this park at all, the existing roadways are quite wide. The intended purpose is for people to be able to park on one side of it and still have two-way traffic. However, when no one's parking there, they're quite wide and tend to become raceways for people wanting to show off some cars and things of that nature. And when you have that kind of activity in a park setting where you're also trying to promote pedestrian and playful activity, it's usually not a good thing. So we're, took that in consideration with this new plan. And then also, if you've ever, driven up Walker, you drive by this park, you can see it as you're kind of going, elevating from the park or from the Walker side, you see this nice park, but unless you're familiar with the area, you don't really have a clue how to get to it. So adding the connection off of Walker is a major component for us to consider and how to make this park a little bit more accessible. And, I think we've kind of accomplished that with this step, and it gives us a good jumping off point moving forward.
Thank you, Brandon. I see we have consultants on the line as well. Are there any additional comments from the applicant's consultant team?
I don't think so. I think Brandon covered it pretty well.
I would add one quick thing.
If you guys can please identify yourselves for the record, please.
Kayla Copeland with Guernsey.
And Darren.
And Darren Scott with Guernsey.
Thank you.
I would just like the committee to know that as of yesterday, we've made great progress with Embark and collaborating on how to handle the new bus stop location. We've been talking to Chip and Eugene with Embark about moving a bus pad north of our new entrance off of Robinson. And this bus pad will accommodate their new shelter. So we're in the final stages of hopefully closing that up and coming to an agreement.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from committee members?
Hi, this is
Yeah.
Gloria.
Oh, go ahead, Gloria.
I'm sorry. The parking spaces that were previously there, the new parking spaces, will we be able to accommodate the same number of parking spots?
So the parking that was there previously, the large parking lot to the west, was actually constructed to accommodate a baseball field that is no longer there. So the parking that we have with this new alignment and new infrastructure distributes the parking more evenly across the park and tries to provide dedicated parking closer to the assets that would be used. So instead of having to park on the side of the street where there's no designated parking, it's just a wide street, we now have, we will have dedicated parking closer to the playground and splash pad, the new exercise facility that's out there, as well as closer parking to the existing pavilion, and then the new parking that is adjacent to the existing event center that is there. So total number of parking, we're probably gonna be less than, but again, the original parking was designed to accommodate a baseball field that is no longer there. So we do believe that the current parking will handle the typical daily use of the park and the amenities that are there. And we also do have the ability to expand those parking areas as the park continues to develop and we add new improvements or we enhance the existing improvements. So they are very modular in design. That gives us a lot of flexibility to add to them as the park changes and moves and develops.
Okay, so on the weekends, a lot of families drive into the park, and then the families have their day in the park. Are we going to, is there sufficient parking that would still welcome the weekend visitors?
Yes.
What would you say the ratio is from what it was to what it will be? That's if you have an idea.
No, that's a good question. It's kind of hard to get a good firm count on what the existing parking conditions were, but I can tell you, looking it up real quick, we are adding, there'll be 128 new parking spaces with this current design that's in place here. So we're installing 128 dedicated parking spaces.
Okay, and then the the gray that's closest to the river, that is currently green space. Is that going to continue to be green space?
Yes. You're talking about on the south side?
Yes.
Yes. So the light green, or at least it's showing up green on my screen here. Hopefully it's kind of showing up green for you all as well. But that is the area that we're essentially touching with this project, either with removal of existing pavement or making improved connections. The grayed out portions of the what's on your screen are areas that we are not touching with this project.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is Laura Griggs again, and I'm sorry, I think I forgot to mention they're also providing connections, as you can see, to the river trail at 2 locations on the south side, which is a real positive in that area.
And just to elaborate just a little bit further on that, Laura, if I can, since you brought it up and kind of refresh my memory on the fact we hadn't talked about it yet. So Walker Avenue now has bike lanes that are on Walker Avenue if you haven't driven south on Walker. So with the proposed connection to Walker, we are also providing for connections to the bike lane facility so that you can go from the bike lane down to the river trails, as well as providing pedestrian access from the sidewalk that is there down into the park as well. So we're not only addressing the new driveways for vehicular access, but it is also trying to improve cycling as well as pedestrian access into the park as well. And there's also planned at some point in the future to have bike lanes on Robinson. And so we are also providing a connection on Robinson for connection to those future bike lanes so that we get from the street level bike infrastructure down to the trail or off-street bicycle infrastructure and recreational trails. So we have trying to really make sure we're taking into account vehicular circulation, pedestrian circulation, as well as other modes of transportation, and making sure we have those connections in place, as well as the proper location of those connections, so it doesn't interfere or negatively influence or impact any of the other park uses.
And I do have to apologize. Now that I put it on the bigger screen, I actually see the key there that would have answered half of my questions. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I had a couple of comments or questions, if I could. This is Jonathan. On the Walker side, I see that there's an entrance there and crossing for the I guess a future sidewalk. It doesn't look like there's an existing sidewalk adjacent to Walker Avenue. Do you know if the proposed or future sidewalk would be set off the back of curb there on Walker, and if you're going to be able to keep some separation there between the back of curb and the between the
Thank
back
you, Cameron.
of curb and the sidewalk?
This is Laura, and this is, there is a current sidewalk. This is a picture of it that
Okay.
runs along Walker. So the picture on the right, looking up north, and so the park is on the right.
Okay. Looking at the wrong section. Does it continue all the way along Walker? Or does it peel down?
It hits the bridge.
I was under the impression that it continues along Walker the entire way.
Okay.
However, obviously where they're doing work to cut in the new entrance, would, the sidewalk would be redone in that area, and
Right.
they would have their connections that they're doing for both the sidewalk and the bike trail, and then the street.
Okay, and then thank you. And then my other question, and I like what you guys have done here, and the preservation of as many trees as possible. I think that's great. I did have a question about some of the parking areas. If you can go back to I'm looking at the utility layout. That may be helpful. CU, but this is fine too. There's some crossings, and I was curious. And there's storm drain that runs along the north side of the proposed road. Are there some opportunities to make those crossings tabletopped to where the profile modifies a little bit and the pedestrians are actually walking flush across that rather than walking down into the pavement area? It's just some grade changes there to make the pedestrians, they're walking straight flush, and then the cars are coming up on a hump basically. And that also will help you with your speed, like a speed table, I guess, in a way, a speed hump. But it's
Cameron, can you go to slide 34, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can see line A, the storm drain. So, I know it's changed some of your profile, but you have the opportunity to put some inlets on either side to catch that water. But then you're also prioritizing your pedestrians, and the cars, basically go up a speed hump in order to let those pedestrians cross at an even grade. Just an idea there. Just wanted to throw that out if you'd looked at that. And then also there are some parking on the south two parking lots. We see a sidewalk that's running on the south side of the parking spots, but there's not a sidewalk necessarily connecting on the north side of the parking lots there, and was curious if there could be some pedestrian accessibility for those parking spots that are running in the north side of those lots. I don't know if that is clear.
This is Brandon with Parks again. Very good questions, very good thoughts and observations. We are still working through the fine tooth improvements, I guess. Going through the fine tooth comb is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Get the words in the right order. On trying to make sure that we're considering the pedestrian access points to where they're the most efficient, effective, as well as safe.
Sure.
So we're actually looking at relocating the access crossings from where you see on your screen now
Okay.
And moving those back, the one on the east side, moving it closer to the parking lot on the south so that when you come out, it's a straight shot. And then also moving the one on the west side closer to that, the south parking lot on the west side as well. So we're still working through trying to fine tune some of those crossing points. There's a couple different things we're looking at as far as how to, provide an extra level of safety for those pedestrian crossings. We're still looking at, can we do a speed table that functions as a crossing? And we're also trying to work with Public Works on doing a narrowed pavement section. So instead of doing a standard 26-foot wide, roadway section, narrow it up to a 22 or maybe a 24-foot wide, more of a parking lot drive. And so essentially by choking that down, it kind of helps to encourage users to slow down because it's now no longer a wide open raceway. We can actually choke that and encourage people to slow down and try to bring, a higher level of visibility of pedestrian crossings where they go and try to be able to, provide the best level of safety as we can. So we're still working with the consultants on a couple different ideas on what we can actually get to work with the site, the way it's configured and the drainage, as well as, working within the budget that we have for this project. So.
Good. Well, I appreciate it. I just wanted to touch base. I know these are they're still preliminary plans and you're still working through things, but I saw an opportunity to talk about that a little bit and I wanted to explore that with you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Just for the record, I would like to echo Jonathan's comments about prioritizing the pedestrian circulation through careful paving design, and I applaud the applicant for evaluating that and considering it.
Thank you.
Are there any additional comments or questions from committee members? Hearing none, I would welcome a motion for this agenda item.
This is Jonathan. I'll make a motion to approve.
If I might,
This is Dana.
Laura, before you make a second, could you please, are you including those conditions that staff is recommending?
Yes, I need to read them all, don't I? Let me
Yes,
find
I'm
that.
sorry. Thank you.
That's all right. That's all right. Let me pull those up. I apologize. Need to find your document to read that verbatim. Excuse me. Staff report. There we go. Somebody has it up, I'll second it, but I'm getting it up.
Well, if legal is okay with it, if I could just read them, if that's okay with Laura.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, I want to read those. So you are including in your motion for approval the following conditions. A, the applicant obtained, and I'm sorry if you're hearing this feedback that I'm hearing. The applicant obtained approval from the Public Works Department for the new curb cuts entrances on Robinson and Walker. B, the applicant obtained approval from the Public Works Department for the use of permeable concrete pavers for the parking lots. And C, the applicant obtained approval from Embark for the relocation of the bus stop. Is that included in your motion?
That is included in my motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This is Barbara Larson. I'd like to second.
Thank you all.
Committee Person Dougherty,
Yeah, in favor of it.
thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all. We move now to item number 7 of our agenda, other business. Item 7A is CE-01019 at 301 Southwest 11th Street. Laura?
Thank you. It's Laura Griggs, Planning Department. And I will, this is a request, and I'll wait here a minute for Cameron to switch to the other slide. This is a request to close an east-west alley right of way between Southwest 10th and 11th, west of Harvey, as you can see on the screen there. The applicant indicates that currently Okura owns this, and they have an agreement with the Humane Society for this property, and to accommodate the proposed development, they're needing that entire area with the easement removed for the alley. This is looking down where the alley easement is. I don't know if that was ever improved. It didn't look like there was ever pavement. There are a few alleys that are in that area, but most of them are just dirt. At one point, this block contained houses, and right now there are no houses left. There are a couple of houses to the east, and then to the south, there are still some single-family residences in this area. Staff did not have any issues with the proposal. This will be immediately west, across from the developing southern portion of Scissortail Park. And staff is recommending approval of the closure of this easement. The attorney for Okura is on the call. If you have questions, or if, and I'm sorry, is your last name pronounced Pomeroy, Emily?
Yes, ma'am. That's
okay. So she is on, can answer questions, or she might have a presentation to make. I'm not really sure, but I wanted to point out she is on this call.
Thank you, Laura. Ms. Pomeroy, do you have any comments to add?
good morning, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee. As Ms. Griggs said, I'm Emily Pomeroy. We serve as General Counsel to the Oklahoma City Urban Renewal Authority. The alley closure is proposed as authorized under the Oklahoma Urban Renewal Law. As your packet indicated, it will go to, upon your review, will go to Planning Commission and City Council for their approval. Just to echo Ms. Griggs, the intent is to facilitate the development of that entire block. I'm happy to try to address any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from committee members? Okay. Hearing none, I would welcome a motion on this item.
This is John Joyce. I move that the be approved, that we recommend closure to the Planning Commission.
Looks like we got a second by committee member Torres.
Committee Person Doherty?
In favor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you.
Item number 7B is 2021 meeting schedule. Laura?
This is Laura Griggs, Planning Department. So it's that time again to get ready for next year. We did not have to change any dates. We didn't encounter any holidays. So we are presenting this for your approval. And if you have any questions, that's fine. It's continuing to be the first Thursday of the month.
Getting 12 meetings out of a year without running into any holidays is like threading a new road through a park without hitting any existing trees.
Yes.
I do see we hit April Fool's Day.
Mm-hmm.
April 1st.
Yes.
You normally celebrate that, Dana?
Not any longer.
Okay. Laura, do we need to take action on approving a schedule?
I believe we do.
Okay.
Is
Is there a motion?
This is
This is
Jonathan.
Barbara
Dana
Larson.
Templeton.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dana. It's your holiday, April 1st. You can do it.
This is Dana Templeton. I'd like to make the motion to approve the schedule for calendar year 2021.
This is Barbara Larson, second.
Thank you.
Committee Person Dougherty?
In favor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Moving on to agenda item 8A, Communications Administrative Approval Report. Sorry, 8A1, SRCA-20-00017 at 1550 West I-40 Highway. Laura?
I'm here if you have any questions. This is for a emergency backup generator for one of those digital signs on I-40 that DOT has. And they're installing the generator and underground fuel tanks. It's actually near the trail on the north side of the river.
Okay, are there any comments from committee members on that? Hearing none, and I believe no action is necessary from this committee. We'll move on to item 8B, comments from planning department staff. Laura?
Thank you. We do have an October meeting, as you continued an item earlier today. So please check your calendars. That meeting's on October 1st. At this point, we have not gotten any direction as far as will October be in person or will October be Zoom. So I'm anticipating it will be the same format as we have today, but if that changes, we will let you know as soon as we know.
Thank you. Item number 8C, comments from committee members. Hearing none. Item 8D, next meeting date. The next regular committee meeting is Thursday, October 1, 2020. New applications were to be submitted by staff, to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, September 1, 2020. Revisions and information on continued projects are to be submitted by September 8, 2020. Laura, do you have any additions to that agenda item?
I don't.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much for your time and your presence. We now adjourn this meeting. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Aye.